Hey there everyone, hope you're having a great day and welcome to the Assembly Cut, the series where I go over my initial thoughts and impressions of the latest films releasing. This is every single film and today we'll be looking at Joker, Folie, Deux. And yeah, I have some thoughts on this one. I didn't like it, I should probably say up front. I, like many others, didn't think that the original needed a sequel. It was a pretty one and done kind of concept. But yeah, I guess when a film makes $1 billion, they're going to demand a sequel, and this is what we got. And yeah, just before we go any further, this will be very spoiler heavy for both films. If you don't want to be spoiled, then don't watch anymore. But if you don't really care or you've seen them both, just yeah, keep on watching. I think like many others, I'm getting pretty jaded over the use of the Joker, at least in mainstream media. So going into the original film, I was excited, but I was just like, oh, Joker, he's a bit overdone. But with that being said, I really enjoyed their take on Joker. It wasn't their traditional take, it was something completely different. Less crime lord, more just mentally ill man, just on the brink of collapse. And yeah, like in a world where Gotham's on the brink of collapse morally and ethically. It was a really interesting film that just caught the world by storm. It definitely had its issues. Had some pretty obnoxious dialogue at points. I wish it explored some more of its themes more deeply. It was a bit surface level. And yes, like the standard critique, it's very inspired by Scorsese films. But yeah, like I loved Joaquin Phoenix's take. I thought the cinematography and the color palette they used for Gotham was really bleak and decaying. I really loved that idea. The production design on top of that was really dynamic and felt really just lived in and just rotten to the core. And yeah, I really enjoyed that take of the Joker becoming like a symbol of revolt, like him kind of creating this Joker persona and how it affects him as well as the world around him. I thought that was really interesting. All that to say that all that interesting stuff kind of gets lost in this. The sequel doesn't really justify its need or existence. It was pretty disappointing and kind of loses all that intrigue for me. So yes, I didn't really expect much coming into Folie, Deux, and all the negative buzz around the film didn't really help for me. I think though that I was in the minority going into this, where I was actually kind of looking forward to the musical aspects of the film. When I heard that it was going to be a musical, I was really intrigued because that's just such a crazy and out there idea that it might just work. The way I was picturing it when I heard about it, like the Joker having like these musical ideas or fantasies. Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting idea. And it is, but yeah, we'll get into it. Let's start with what I liked. Performances overall, all really solid. There wasn't a single bad performance. But with the material that all the actors are kind of given, they don't really get many opportunities to really shine like the original. There's no scene in this film where I was like, oh, I have to watch that on YouTube again and again to really see what he's doing. The introduction of Harley Quinn, or Lee as they call her in the film, played by Lady Gaga. Yeah, I really liked her. I actually haven't seen any of Lady Gaga's other performances, so I can't really say if it's a better or worse one. But yeah, again, I think with what she's given, she does really well. During the musical sequences is clearly where she shines the most. Cinematography, just as good, probably slightly worse than the original. All the really interesting shots, they kind of just repeat from the original, so I kind of give props to that. And so, getting back to the musical aspect of the film, I enjoyed those sequences. They were all very visually interesting. I really enjoyed those, like the one where he's dancing on the rooftop when him and Harley have that TV show when they're doing the dance. Yeah, I really liked those sequences. But again, the issue with that is they also sing in real life, like in the real world in that film. So you were having this just constant singing sometimes, and it's just too much. If they had reduced the singing, like if they just kept it into the fantasy sections, I would have liked it more. Speaking of which, the production design, all those musical acts looked great. I thought it was fantastic. Probably the best part of the film were those scenes. With that being said though, I kind of felt with the costumes, they kind of played it a bit safe with Harley Quinn. Like with the Joker, they really went for it in the original, like with some really striking colours and interesting ideas, whereas in this, it's really just safe. And Lee Gill as Gary Puddles is a standout. He has a great confrontation with Arthur in the courtroom where he just calls him out for what he did in the original. That's probably the best scene in the film. So yeah, that was a great performance and great scene overall. Yeah, so then let's get into everything else I didn't like about the movie, which is pretty much everything else. While I enjoyed the subversions in Joker, where Arthur's transformation still retained Joker's core traits like his chaos, unpredictability, sadistic humour, and narcissism, I fundamentally disagree with the choices made in the sequel. In the original, even though it was a different narrative, Arthur's descent into madness served the director's message that societal neglect can create figures like the Joker without losing what made the character iconic. However, in the sequel, the film strips away the very essence of who the Joker is, seemingly returning Arthur to his pre-Joker state. Instead of building on the chaotic and anarchic persona he embraced, the sequel is undoing his transformation, which undermines the character's core traits and the deeper message of the first film. It's a choice that I not only disagree with, but the way the film strips away Joker's persona is also just dull or pathetic. But let's break this down. So, the whole crux of this film, it's all about the court case of the Joker and his actions from the last film. And the whole narrative question or arc of this film is the Joker and Arthur the same person, or is the Joker a response to Arthur's trauma, and that the Joker is what he's created to protect himself? And so yeah, the whole film is about going through the events of the last film. We have some of the returning cast members from the original in the courtroom scenes, and so my issue with that is that it's an interesting narrative question, but that was the narrative question of the original film, wasn't it? That's what I got out of it. That Arthur is a weak and feeble, mentally ill man struggling with life, and in a response to the trauma he goes through, both in his past and through the events of the film, he builds the Joker persona as a way to lash out and as like a last hurrah that spirals out of control. But he builds the Joker persona as a way to protect himself, or as a way to respond to that. And so, by posing this question as a central narrative element, a question that's already been explored and answered in the original film, the majority of the film just feels reductive. There's no new narrative revelation. None of the returning characters give a view that we didn't see or experience in the original. So it just feels like we're retreading the events of the original. And it's just by the third or fourth time they go back to the courtroom, I'm just bored, because the film was obsessed with the events of the last film while offering a narrative that isn't very interesting. And so with that being said, the whole point of this film is to strip down the Joker persona and to strip down Arthur, all in an effort to kind of show that the Joker is a pathetic and disgusting person. Which again, I don't think is a big narrative revelation, like that's just what he's perceived to be, but I think tearing down the Joker and his ideals is an interesting premise, especially after the original tried to walk that fine line between Arthur being sympathetic and villainous. So I can understand that idea, but just the way they go about it is just really, really shocking. Like, okay, so for instance, Arthur has no narrative, point to this film. If the people who have watched it, can you tell me honestly, what is his narrative goal in the film? Is it to win the trial? I'd argue no. It's more his defense lawyer doing that. He kind of just gets wrapped up in the whole drama of it. When he decides to defend himself, he fumbles through it again to reiterate that he has no point. Is his role to live with Harley, to love Harley, and to build a mountain that they keep referring to build this mountain? Again, I'd argue no. That's more Harley Quinn's or Lee's narrative point. That's what she wants to do. And as soon as Arthur rejects the Joker persona, she doesn't care about him anymore. And so I guess they've done that to again just show that he's just a weak, feeble man, and to return him to that instead of this Joker idea. And again, I understand that idea, but just again the way they do that, the way they present this, it just makes Arthur into an idiot. And he wasn't an idiot in the first. He was emotionally driven and he made some mistakes, obviously, but he wasn't a complete idiot like he was in this film. In order for the film to work, you have to buy that the Joker has suddenly lost everything that makes him intriguing. His lack of empathy, his psychotic tendencies, his manipulation, and his unpredictability, all of which is replaced by nothing but a convenient lack of those traits and also just plain idiocy. And so as the film goes on and continually strips down Arthur's Joker persona, the film decides to really hammer home this idea in a really disgusting way. When Arthur is talking in the court case, when he's defending himself and he's stumbling through it, he does this funny foghorn, leghorn, like very like southern accent, which is funny. He calls the guards, which, oh, by the way, like Brendan Gleeson's in this film, he's the one of the guards. And he calls the guards fat in the courtroom. And so how does the guard respond to that? Well, when Arthur gets back to the mental asylum, Brendan Gleeson and his guards take Arthur into like this abandoned or like this remote toilet section, strips him down and him. I'm probably gonna have to beep that word, but you know what I'm saying. Like they him. It's just it comes out of nowhere. And then after that, Brendan Gleeson's character, the guard, kills one of the other mental patients, just to hammer home the idea that the Joker is not something to aspire to and ultimately creates more harm than good. And I'm perfectly fine and agree with that message, but the scene is a perfect encapsulation of how this film fails to land its message. Portraying sexual assault in the film requires a great deal of sensitivity and care due to the deeply traumatic nature of the subject matter. It needs to be approached thoughtfully and should never be used just for shock value or as a lazy plot device, just to push the character's development. This film falls into the later camp and handles its use of sexual assault with all the genius and intelligence as that ape in 2001. But like, I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they did that. What are you doing? Why is that? Why would you do that? And it makes more sense now because I heard that that they didn't do any previews for the film, which makes so much sense now watching it. Because if they had shown that in the previews, I guarantee all the audience would have been like, "What are you doing? What is this?" And they would have had to cut it out or change it. And I wish they did because I don't understand why they did that. I do, but like it's so sudden and so poorly handled. And then to tie in this message, Arthur rejects the Joker persona, leading Harley to abandon him and ultimately resulting in his death as he's stabbed in the asylum, with the same shot of him on the ground, similar to when those kids hit him with the sign in the first film, which I'm very sure is a circular way of showing that Arthur hasn't really progressed. And then his shadow is then passed on to the next Joker. In a better film, this could have been a more powerful and compelling narrative. However, the sequel delivers this message in the dullest way possible. Instead of deepening the themes and building on what the first film established, the sequel tears down this character development, squandering the potential to explore the Joker's identity and legacy in a more meaningful and engaging way. Some other miscellaneous notes that I've jotted down: Harvey Dent's in the film and he's completely wasted. They could have called him Jarvie Tent and the film would be no different. Additionally, this idea came to me when I was walking home from the cinema, but Harley Quinn should have been Joker's defense lawyer. While it wouldn't have fixed the film by any means, it would have given Harley more of an active role in the court scenes, making their relationship more dynamic and engaging. For that being said, the film feels like a response to the original film's controversial popularity. The original film tried to walk this fine line between the audience feeling sympathy for Arthur and him and feeling like disgusted by Arthur. And for me, that worked. I know for a lot of others it didn't. And so to respond to that with this sequel, again, like I've been saying, I get the idea, but I think the execution is just so poorly handled that it just, kind of ruins the point of the first one. The film feels like a narrative misfire. So to conclude all those ideas, the film doesn't warrant its existence, and it feels more like a missed opportunity to explore Joker's role in Gotham's downfall. Those are my thoughts on Joker Folie Deux. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. It's a very divisive movie, so I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. And also let me know what you guys think of this series. I thought it'd be a bit of fun just to, just kind of talk into the mic for a bit about the films I've been watching and kind of turn into a fun little series. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a like and subscribe, as they say. And see you guys in the next video. Thanks, guys.